Доброго ранку, шановні учасники конференції. Дякуємо, що ви з нами. Перепрошуємо за невеличкі технічні неполадки, але все, що відбувається онлайн, відбувається інколи із сюрпризом. Вітаємо ще раз на нашій конференції для та про підлітків віртуально про реальність. Мене звати Ірина Нарубаєва і разом з моєю колегою Анастасією Шевченковою ми представляємо організацію Міжнародний благодійний фонд «Схід-Захід», і ми є організаторами. Також з нами сьогодні представники нашого молодіжного організаційного комітету.
Hi, my name is Katya. I'm from Kremenchuk and I'm a volunteer of Sweetland NGO. Hi, I'm Matt. I'm a volunteer of Compass NGO from Kharkiv. I would like to welcome you all. Usually at the conferences we have resolutions. And these resolutions include all the main issues discussed at the conference and include the messages addressed to decision makers and other officials. And usually these resolutions are developed by the specialists and the experts. And considering that we have an online conference, I think that you have noticed that due to all these technical issues, we decided to do it online. And because this is a conference and about ask teens, first of all, what issues they care about and what we need to change and how we need to develop educational programs and services so that they are interested in them. So my first question is to Katya and Maxim. So what do you think should be first of all discussed and changed from your viewpoint? I think that one of the main questions that should be discussed with teens is their feelings and their perception of themselves, because many issues and problems are in our head because we don't understand how this world works and how the situation is changing. And often parents, teachers, psychologists at school, they do not talk with the teens about their feelings, and that's bad because it leads to problems. Yeah, right, there are problems.
Еще важная тема – это сексуальное воспитание.
То есть
у нас в школах очень сейчас большая проблема с этим. Это не рассказывают, это не распространяют. Родители не
Nobody talks about it. Parents don't talk about it.
Макс, дуже дякую. Дійсно,
Max,
під час підготовки до цієї конференції
Really, when we were preparing for this conference, we talked a lot about various issues and problems which exist, and the problem of sex education was one of the most important key problems. So my question to you, what do you think, from what age should adults talk about sex with the children and teens? Maybe the conversations about human bodies and sexuality should start from about 10 years old. And as for communication with the opposite sex, I think it should start from like 30 years of age. So how to communicate, how to respond to different signs of affection, what is some personal space, and how you can remain yourself. That's important thing to discuss. I agree with that. When a child is 10 years old, you can start this conversation, and when a child is 13, there can be a more in-depth talk because a child understands pretty well what happens at that age. There is internet now and other sources of information. And those educational programs which exist now at schools, do they correspond to your ideas that such conversations should start at 10 or 13 years of age? What's your experience? In our school, the talk of sex education was at the moment when we were 6th or 7th graders. Like boys were in one room, girls were in another room, and so they gave us some magazines, some newspapers, and they just gave us to read them, and just gave us some hygiene pads to girls, and that's what you can use. There were no other talks. Yeah, right. I talked to my friends and acquaintances, and in our schools still use school standards. There is no sex education. Like maybe when you have a biology class, they can talk about some very basic things. I think it should be changed. how should it be
прошлый раз,
changed?
когда мы это обсуждали,
When
говорили
last time
идею
when we
по поводу
talked
того,
about it,
что
I
можно
expressed
собирать
my
в школах
idea
родителей,
that
проводить им, так скажем,
parents
такие
can
лекции,
have some
уроки
meetings
тоже, как бы,
at
чтобы
school,
они
and there can
понимали,
be
что с детьми говорить о
classes and
сексе, то есть это
lectures
нормально.
for
Ну,
parents,
просто в
so that
некоторых
they
семьях
understand
это
that
даже
talking
запрещается. То
about
есть в
sex
какой-то
in
культуре
families is okay,
тоже
because
это
in many
такое уже
families
неправильно.
it's a taboo.
И то есть как бы нужно
People do
объяснять
not
и
talk
родителям в
about
первую
it.
очередь,
So
что
first
это
of all,
нормально.
it is important to
Нужно
explain to
нормальных
parents
психологов
that it is
набирать
normal
в школу
that
и
you can talk about
ну,
sex.
организовывать
Also,
такие
there
уроки,
should be
там они все сами
professional
знают.
psychologists at schools, at universities
Є,
as
до
well.
речі,
Maybe
якщо
not
ми
universities,
говоримо
but
про
at schools.
батьків,
Okay,
в
right. And
школах
if we
зараз в
talk
нашій
about
системі
parents,
загальної освіти
at
дійсно
school, really
заняття
now
з пояснення щодо сексуальної освіти відбуваються
sex
тільки за згодою батьків.
education can be
Тому
provided
от
only
ось
with
таке ще є
parents'
питання
consent.
щодо засобів
That's
контрацепції,
another
презервативів.
question.
Чи варто
What
їх взагалі
about
розвивати в школах,
condoms,
на вашу думку?
contraception? Should they be distributed at schools? Well, from my viewpoint, I think that, yeah, it's a good idea, and it should be actually done on a regular basis because at teens, they experiment with the things, and it would be good if those things could be safe for them and for their partners. So it would be good to have condoms distributed, but not all the teens have an opportunity to buy their own condoms, so there can be a conflict between the finance and the need to get condoms. But often people say that if you give a condom to a teen, like teens will start to do sex. So it's like you actually push them into having sex. So do you really think that if a person has a condom, he will go and start having sex? Well, I think that that's actually bullshit, you know. Really, if you look at the situation from another viewpoint, like all people knew well that some children start to have sex when they are 11, 12, 13, 14. And such children, as Katya said, they just don't have money to buy condoms. And if they could receive condoms at school, children would not, like girls would not get pregnant. They would not get sexually transmitted infections at such young age. Of course, it depends a lot on us as children, but sex education is also important. So there should be some attempts to help teens. Yeah, well, a lot of people are listening now to you, so maybe you will change somebody's opinion about condoms, about sex education. So if we started this conversation about research, studies, and about sexual debut, today we will have a more detailed session to present also research studies about drugs and alcohol. So my next question is, what do you think are the reasons for teens to start using drugs and alcohol? Well, I think that interest is one of the factors. The second factor would be to hide from the reality, to run away from the reality. Because when adults, parents do not talk about children's emotions, children, they bottle up and they see the world in gray colors, and such substances, they help children run away from their reality. So it can actually push them into those dark things. Yeah, I think that one of the main reasons for children to start using is lack of information. Even the information which is available, it is not presented in a good way. So what are they saying at school? That's a bad thing, but no details, no examples, nothing. No quality information. And you know, as they say that if you are prohibited to do something, you really want to do it. So people, they try to do it. Well, many people say that first of all, we need to talk about risks. We need to teach teens to say no to such bad things as drugs. But you say that it doesn't work. but what could actually work for teens?
Как бы можно приглашать в школы
Well, I think that
людей, которые употребляли, то
some
есть те, кто уже вышли с этого,
ex-drug users
могут наяву
could
показать
be
или рассказать о
invited to
последствиях.
schools. So
Ну,
people
я с
who
такими людьми общался,
were
на самом
in
деле это
using
помогает.
drugs, but now they don't. For example, I talked to such people and it helped me. Yeah, so you see how the person had this experience and at which moment this experiment turned into big problems. And you understand that, no, I don't want this in my life.
Жизни, но его
So
общаться
I
с
would
человеком, который
better,
употреблял морфин,
avoid it.
ну, по-простому,
For
как никотин.
example, I talked to a person
И
who
у
used
него
desomorphin
просто
or a crocodile, as it is
язвы
called.
по всему
And
телу.
I
Ну, то
saw
есть можно
that she
сказать,
had a
что
very
это
bad
редкий
skin, a
Я
lot of
иногда на это
ulcers,
смотрел,
a lot of wounds on his
ну, не знаю,
skin.
это просто в голове
So
просто все это
his life was
разворачивается.
like a living dead person, and it
Правильно ми
really
розуміємо, що
turned my mind
найкраще
upside down.
надавати максимально
Do
достовірну
I understand you
інформацію
correctly that
про
the
те,
best
як
idea is
все
to give
відбувається
truthful
насправді?
information, realistic
Тобто
information
давати
about how it
інформацію
all happens?
підліткам про
So
всі
give
переваги,
information
недоліки,
about
про те,
all
як
the
фактично
advantages and
ситуація є з
disadvantages,
наркотиками.
the actual situation with drugs, right? Yeah, at our conference, we will have a number of sessions about psychoactive substances. But in our opinion, it is important to say that drug abuse happens due to lack of communication, lack of alternative ways to spend time. So I hope that at the conference, people will be able to see how it is possible to organize leisure time of teens to prevent them from drug use. And we have some more important questions to you, like about bullying, about violence. So people talk a lot about it at schools, educational institutions. There are some lectures and events. So have you had such lectures or campaigns at your schools, and did they change the situation? After this draft law was approved about prevention of bullying, I heard that people are saying that let's not touch him because otherwise I will have to pay a fine. But well, I think that that's probably was the only campaign, like when they told about those fines you need to pay. Actually, yeah, there were also some posters, but I wouldn't say that they really worked. Do you have bullying at your school? Unfortunately, yes. But what could be done in a different way to avoid this problem? Well, if I talk about my experience, I think it would be great if teachers could help peers to see each other as equals, because usually there is a gradation or classifications of children, like someone is seen as a cool person, someone is not so cool and awesome. And so if teachers would help teens to see each other as equals, as peers, that would be awesome. But I haven't seen them doing it, unfortunately. So again, we go back to the question of equality, not seeing people as like someone who is the important one and someone who is a subordinate. So we have an equal talk today, and that's a good approach. Unfortunately, our schedule changed a little bit, and we will have our next session just in 1 minute. So we'll have a welcome word from our ministries, and sorry again for some technical issues, but please stay with us, and I hope you can attend all the interesting sessions. Thanks a lot for discussion to my colleague Irina and to our teams, Katya and Max. So you will see them again today, so see you soon. Bye. Or maybe you would like to add something. Well, I want to say thank you to the organizers because there are some very important issues raised here, some really important social problems which are not discussed at school, at home, and also in the street. And so such events as this conference, they should happen, and it is important to raise such important issues and to give truthful information to teens to form their perception of things as they should be in a healthy society. Max, why did you decide to be at this conference? Well, I'm really into getting new experience, and this is a really cool experience for me. Yeah, well, this is, an important experience for all of us. Yeah, I mean, like new people to meet, new knowledge to get, new skills, a lot of useful things. I am a teen, and there are a lot of topics I'm really interested in, and I don't know what to do with some issues. What is the most important topic for you? What are you looking forward to hear about? Relations, leadership, and aggression. That's a good cocktail that you've got. And what about you? I'm looking forward to the lecture about gender, about sex education. And there are some speakers which and public speaking I would like to learn about, because I would like to be a public speaker and I would like to hear from a person who has experience in it, how it should be done. Okay, so we invite you to join those sessions and other sessions which you would like to attend. So come back to us. Have a great conference.